Hey guys.
What's up, guys?
My name is Allie Campbell.
And I'm Sophia Shoenfeld.
And this is our first episode of Simply Put.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. We've been waiting to do this for a long time.
Yes, we have worked so hard to try to get this up and running, and it's finally happening.
Yeah.
There were a few setbacks today as we were setting up, but
We're learning.
We're learning. It's only going to get better.
Yeah. I think that's kind of our concept for this podcast is we're learning like you're learning. We're both college students, and we're trying to bring news to you guys, news and sports specifically.
Yes. So basically the premise of Simply Put is that we're going to each be introducing two different segments. So I'm going to be leading the sports side of things, and Sophia will be leading the news and political side of things. So we're both going to talk about the biggest headlines for college students to know. So something that I found as a college student, especially my freshman year, was it's so hard to access cable news or ESPN or any of those things, especially when you live in a dorm. So we're kind of going to bring that to you so that you can still have access to the biggest headlines.
Yeah, and we're going to try to focus not only on campus news, but also local news and even national news. When it comes to specifically news and politics, we're going to talk a lot about election because it is election year.
Yes.
And for a lot of us, it's our first time voting in a presidential election if you're a college student. So that's a super big deal.
Lots of big news. And since a lot of it can be confusing, we're going to be breaking it down. Simply Put, that's where the name came from. Yes. And so we're going to explain the terminology that could be confusing and kind of just break down the background information so that you can come into this with no prior knowledge and still understand what's going on.
Yeah. And we did also want to give you guys, since this is our pilot episode, just a little bit of a background on, why we're doing this together.
Yes.
So we actually met, I guess it was last semester. So we've only known each other for a couple months, but we met in one of our multimedia writing classes. And we sat next to each other. And then we also realized that we were both CCI land ambassadors.
Which is funny because now we give tours together every week.
Yeah.
So
we're together
crazy.
She's going to get tired of me, I swear.
No, she's going to get tired of me. But
So we met during this class, and in this multimedia writing class, we actually had an assignment to do an impromptu podcast. And we recorded it in like 10 minutes, no prep at all. And we were like, whoa.
It just flowed really well. We had some kind of natural connection.
Yeah.
So we decided maybe let's try this.
Yeah.
We actually went on a journalism UT trip to New York like a month ago. And we really talked about all of the details on that trip.
We were roommates.
Yes, we were roommates.
Yeah. So we were like, you know what? Let's do this. Like, we can do this.
And it's a fun fact to add on a tour, too.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
Because we filmed this right after our tour times. So I'm always, when we're showing them the studio, the radio station, I'm always like, okay, we'll be filming in there in about 30 minutes.
Like, changing out of my orange polo. So if you see me on campus in an orange polo, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
Anyways, well, I guess we should get to it.
Yeah, dive right in. It is time for the sports update.
Yes.
Let's get started. Okay, so clearly it is our first episode. We're trying not to dive too much into things, but there's a lot going on in the world of sports. So I can't help myself. Clearly, the Super Bowl was a couple weeks ago now. We were planning on filming last week. That got delayed. So now we're going to be talking about it. Still a little late. It's fine.
Just bear with us.
Yeah.
We're making it happen.
We're making it happen. So, Chiefs win. Okay. Sophia's pretty happy about it.
Taylor Swift's boyfriend.
I'm not exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So let me I threw the whole Taylor Swift's boyfriend thing out there. I do know a little bit about sports. I actually have a sports internship. Right now, I'm interning as the ringside reporter for the Knoxville Ice Bears.
She's so cool.
It's a professional hockey team. I'm learning. I actually love sports. I grew up watching sports. I grew up watching football. My brother plays football.
I grew up watching news. I was always involved in news, and I thought I wanted to be on that side of journalism.
Yeah.
And then we both just kind of flipped.
And a flip-flop. And I love it. I love sports reporting. It's a lot of fun. But I think I'm ready to try something new. So that's kind of what we're doing with this, actually. Not to go back to the whole premise of the podcast, but we can switch it around.
We can easily bounce off each other, too, and talk about each topic, so it's not just one-sided.
Yeah.
But she was very happy with the Chiefs win.
Yes, very
Not
happy.
so much on my side. I I'm from Atlanta, so, Falcons, they aren't great. I've had to kind of find a team that I really like, and I love Brock Purdy. Okay, to explain, for those of you that don't know Brock Purdy, he is the quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers.
Okay.
I love him. He is amazing. To explain why I like him, he was called Mr. Irrelevant because he was the last draft pick coming out of college.
Okay, because so I watched the Super Bowl, and I did hear one of the reporters, I don't know his name, but he did say that. He called him Mr. Irrelevant, so that makes sense now to me.
That is what he was called at first. He was the third string quarterback, which third string basically means that you have two quarterbacks that are going to play ahead of you.
Right.
So you have the starting QB, and then you have the second backup guy. He was the third backup guy, so not expected to play, not expected to do anything.
Got you.
He ended up being the starting quarterback last season. Crazy coincidence, last draft pick, wild. Speaking of the draft, I don't know how much you guys know about that.
I know nothing.
Okay, perfect. Then we'll talk about that a little bit. What do you think? So he was the last one. How many draft picks do you think there are?
I'm going to go with...
You could go way over, way under, so...
Oh, gosh. Okay. Okay.
There's 7 rounds.
Oh.
He was in the 7th round.
Okay. Total, all of rounds combined, I'm saying 90. Wait, no.
Okay.
Wait.
No, that's good. He was the 262nd pick.
So...
Irrelevant. Yes.
Okay.
However, he ended up taking his team to the freaking Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Like the end goal, basically. So cool. So to put it in perspective, Patrick Mahomes, the Chiefs QB, who's incredible. He's so good. I'm not denying that, obviously. I have it here, he was the first round 10th draft pick.
Okay.
That's 252 picks above Brock Purdy.
Wow.
Yeah. And they were facing each other, put up a really good fight.
That's interesting.
Game. Yeah. But people are now saying that Mahomes is one of the greats. They're comparing him to Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, all
which I don't understand that. Like,
well,
like what does it mean to be one of the greats? Like,
he has won 3 Super Bowls in his 7 years in the NFL. He's only 28 years old. He has taken his team to the Super Bowl 4 out of the past 5 years.
Oh my
So that's kind of where that comes from. But
Okay. So we have Mahomes.
Yeah. He
got Purdy.
He got the Super Bowl MVP award for 3 separate years. Crazy.
Okay. Wait, so you were pulling for the 49ers?
The 49ers.
Because of Brock Purdy.
Because of Brock Purdy. I would also like to speak on his character.
Oh.
I think that he is... Never met him. We are not friends.
Wait, do you know that?
No. He posts so much about, like, religion,
okay,
and his faith and how, like, God inspires him. And if you're not religious, totally cool. But I just think it's cool that he has those morals that are guiding him. Yeah. And he also... So Christian McCaffrey is his one of his wide receivers. He was saying that Christian deserves to get the MVP award when people were saying that Brock should get it.
Oh,
he was denying it and saying, no, this guy deserves it way more than me.
Wow.
So humble.
That
so
is
cool.
humble.
Yeah.
That's humble. Okay. So now I get it. I get why some people were bummed. I saw all of the, like, sad edits on TikTok of, like, the other side of the Super Bowl. And it's, like, the losing team. So that was you.
Yes, that was
I'm over
me.
here like, Taylor Swift's boyfriend.
Yeah, everyone I watched the Super Bowl with, too, was really sad. So when I was talking to you about it, she was, like, all happy. And
like,
I'm like,
yes,
what?
Chiefs. Which, again, I actually do really like football, but I didn't know any of that. So thanks for sharing.
I hope you guys know now, too.
Yeah.
So our second update, very relevant to Tennessee, obviously, the NCAA lawsuit.
Yes, which obviously I've heard of.
Yes.
But I don't know where it's coming from. I only know of, like, the big Don D. Plowman quote that's going around right now.
Yes.
So yeah, that's kind of my, like, the depth of my understanding.
Yeah. So basically, to dive right into that, Nico, he's our quarterback coming in for this year. He is going to be a sophomore, or I guess a freshman technically, but not a true freshman. he basically signed this deal with a brand, a company, coming into Tennessee.
Okay.
And then that was totally fine. Now the NCAA is saying that there's a problem with that and investigating the University of Tennessee.
So, okay.
It's an NIL deal, which means
Yes.
name, image, and likeness. But I think their argument is that it was kind of recruiting him, in a false manner.
Okay.
But they were arguing that they had nothing to do with that deal.
Okay, so Tennessee is arguing that they had nothing to do with this deal that
Yes.
Nico signed before.
So Tennessee and Virginia are getting involved, and they're basically saying that the NCAA violated the Sherman Antitrust Act and that they were not given proper guidelines about the situation.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, this is funny. A Tennessee fan got to propel a 29-foot power tee, which is our Tennessee flag.
I saw this.
in front of the NCAA hearing the other day, which is
Okay.
hilarious. There's nothing more volunteer
Yeah,
than
of course.
getting
A big orange tee.
a giant orange tee.
Outside the courtroom.
So basically, a win for Tennessee in this situation would pause all NIL, the name, image, and likeness restrictions, and that would allow athletes to kind of renegotiate their deals prior to signing with the school. And
Got it.
let that.
Because, okay, so this ruling will affect more than just Nico's deal.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. This is for several different sports, but Nico is kind of the one that people are focusing on a little bit more.
Understood.
But definitely this would be a huge impact for us if the NCAA did win, because we just got off from our NCAA charges from, I believe it was Jeremy Pruitt.
Oh, was that like
Wait.
the whole McDonald's bag thing? Or am I making that up? That's a thing, right?
I think so.
Like the money in the McDonald's bags?
Oh, yes.
Am I airing dirty laundry? Wait. Wait a minute.
We'll go
I could have
back and
sworn.
check this.
Okay.
But
We'll check it.
Yes.
Yeah. Don't quote me.
Well, there was some Tennessee coach that actually did some foul behavior and
Right.
mispracticing.
Which I do
and
remember. So
Yes.
a little bit of background too, not to cut you off.
No.
I am from Tennessee. I ended up moving away from Tennessee, but the majority of my family lives in Tennessee. I have grandparents in Maryville, so they're very close. So I am like 4th generation Tennessee student. So I have followed Tennessee sports for a long time. Although I don't have the greatest understanding of it, I
What's
kind
funny,
of heard a lot.
I have not. I'm from Atlanta.
Yeah.
I never knew anything about Tennessee. I have no family that goes here. All of my knowledge is just from these past couple of years and then trying a little bit to research.
Yeah,
the
because she's
years
a
before
boss.
that.
She showed up and she's like, watch me.
I'm trying.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been hearing about this for years. Like,
Yeah, crazy.
I don't even know what's
Well,
going
then
on.
I'll be turning to you for some questions that I have.
Yeah, wait, maybe don't.
Yeah. Okay. No.
No, I'm kidding.
Maybe behind the camera.
Maybe behind the camera. Maybe behind me first.
So then the last couple things that I will bring up before we move on to your segment. EA Sports just announced that they're adding college football. There have been teases for this for a few years.
Wait, EA Sports, like
Yes.
the gaming?
Yes.
Okay, like the EA Sports.
EA Sports. Yeah.
Okay.
So usually
Okay.
it's just NFL.
Yeah.
They just released this huge video with like this huge teaser about college football coming hopefully this summer. So that would be
Okay.
so incredible. But they already have a picture of what the game would look like with like Nico on the cover, which is cool. But
Okay, are they able to do that because of all the new NIL deal stuff? Why didn't they do it before?
that is a great question, which we will talk about next episode.
Oh, look
little
at
teaser.
that.
Yeah. Well, you guys can learn about that more next episode.
Yeah.
So something else that you guys are going to hear about next episode. Basketball, so much going on. Just beat Vandy yesterday. So awesome.
Whoop,
That
whoop.
was an interstate competition, you know.
Yeah.
We'll talk about DK, Dalton Connect, for those of you that don't know.
Yeah.
Big fan.
Oh, big fan.
And I just met him on Saturday.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
It really cool.
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest flex.
Did
that
you
I
get to
have.
ask him any questions?
Not
or were
really.
you like, I don't wanna
I did
bug
get a
him?
picture, but I was actually passing him,
Okay.
and then I look up and I'm like, "What?"
He's up there. How tall is he?
Crazy tall.
Oh, okay.
He's
tall.
not as tall as I do. If you know who that is, he's another basketball player. Incredible. We'll inform you later. Don't
Guys,
worry.
if you don't know, I don't know. So
perfect. We can all learn together. So Dalton Connect, he's incredible.
Awesome.
Talk about that later. Baseball just opened.
Yes.
So much going on. Baseball
So
and softball. They just went to Arlington, Texas for a tournament, won 2 out of the 3 games. Pretty good. And then we'll talk about some key players that you should look out for. So get excited.
Sweet. I'm excited. I'm excited to learn more about it.
Yes. So much to talk about.
All right, guys. So it's time for our news segment. Now, normally it's going to be a little bit longer than this. I definitely want to touch on campus news and also local news. But kind of, honestly, the biggest campus news right now is that NIL.
And I obviously took that story, so
yeah, she stole it from me.
bad.
No, but that's perfect. She knows more about that than I do, so that worked out well. But I am going to jump into national today. So the biggest thing that I want to talk about throughout this podcast is the election, because it is election year. Like I already mentioned, like this is the first time a lot of us college students are voting in a presidential election. So I think it's really important that we are, educated on what is going on. So today I'm just going to kind of introduce the current candidates that we have right now.
That is so exciting because I don't even know who's still in the running. Like, it's been very wishy-washy.
No, yeah. And to be honest, I didn't either.
Yeah.
I had no idea until I, looked all of this up.
Yeah.
So we're going to be in this ride together. We're going to cover it a lot. I'm not going to get into a lot of their specifics today. I'm just going to tell you who they are.
Okay.
And what side they're on.
You're going to have to stay tuned for the specifics.
Yeah, because it's a lot. It's a lot. There's, 2 sides to every story. There's a lot of pages in a book. So
yes, and she's dealing with a lot of bias with research and everything.
So much bias. So and we're going to get into that a little bit too. So I guess first off, we can go through our candidates. So if you didn't know this already, there are Democratic candidates. There are Republican candidates. There are also independent candidates. As of right now, there are no independent candidates. I think we had one. He pulled out.
Is that RFK?
Yes, RFK.
He pulled out?
He pulled out.
No
as far
way.
as I'm aware, from everything that I've seen,
is Robert Kennedy.
Yes, Robert Kennedy. So he is like the grandson.
I don't even know.
I don't know. I should know.
He's
I don't
a relative.
know. He's not in the race anymore. So
crazy.
He's not in the race
anymore.
He
got some talk too early on.
He did. He really did. And so it's so fast paced. That's kind of the main thing to take away from this is it is so fast paced. There's Marianne Williamson. I believe I'm saying her name correctly. Marianne Williamson. She was also a part of the candidates. Again, I'll get to them in a second. Up until like a week and a half ago.
Oh, wow.
She's gone now. So
you're going to have to keep updating these show notes.
It's constant. So first off, let's talk candidates. So Democratic candidates, we have 2 as of right now. That is Joe Biden and Dean Phillips. That's all.
Never heard of Dean Phillips.
I hadn't either. So Dean Phillips, he's the U.S. representative for Minnesota's 3rd District.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's what he does. And then, of course, we have Joe Biden, who is the current president, the 47th president of the United States. He was also on the U.S. Senate for 36 years, if you did not know that. 36 years. He also was vice president for Barack Obama, if you did not know that, from 2009 to 2017.
Man has been around.
He has been here for a long time. So, Republican candidates, of course, we have Donald Trump. We have Nikki Haley. And we have Ryan Binkley, who is another name
I did not know Ryan Binkley until a few days ago.
Yes, I had never heard of Ryan Binkley, so I'm going to get into him first. So he is a pastor.
Oh, okay.
Yep, he's a pastor. He's actually married to a first-generation South Korean immigrant woman.
Okay.
So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
He is the CEO of a business. It just is like a generational, it's like a corporate company. Yeah. It's a consulting,
so
I
we
believe.
Have 2 business people in the
we have 2
on
business
the Republican
people.
side.
He has no prior experience in politics.
Pastor,
supposedly.
Businessman running for president.
Yeah, so we've got some interesting candidates. Nikki Haley, you may know her. She was the governor of South Carolina for 2 terms,
right.
Back in 2010 and 2011. And then she was also an ambassador for the UN, and she was appointed by Trump, which now, this is a little tidbit we'll get into later, Trump does not endorse her anymore.
That's
There
wild.
is some drama there.
Okay.
So
I'm excited to hear some more about that.
Yeah. And then there's Donald Trump, of course, the 46th president of the United States. So let's talk about polls.
Yes,
so polls are something that you're going to hear a lot about when you get into politics. Polls can be confusing, and they are something to be wary of.
Yes.
So first and foremost, let me give you a poll, okay? So according to Ballotpedia, which is actually a really great resource, and they'll tell you all of the candidates that are in the running. They will give you different polls. According to Ballotpedia, Joe Biden is currently winning the Democratic poll by 91%.
Oh, wow.
I believe that is correct, 91%.
Okay. Sorry,
Yes.
Dean Phillips.
I know. So Dean Phillips, I guess he's got, actually, I'm not even sure Dean Phillips was on that poll. I think it was back when Marianne Williamson was on the poll.
It's crazy that people that have that small of a percentage of the polls stay in, because it's so expensive to run for president.
It is extremely expensive to run for president. That is also something we definitely will get into in another episode. Campaigns are a big deal.
Yeah.
Especially if, which Dean Phillips, he's already been a representative for the United States. But when we talk about Ryan Binkley, he's never had a campaign before. So that's a lot of money. Where's
the money coming from?
Where is he getting the money? I digress. And then if we talk about the Republican polls, Donald Trump is winning by 63%.
Okay.
So I want you to notice that I said Democratic polls and Republican polls, because those are two separate things. Joe Biden is not winning 91% over Donald Trump. Donald Trump is not winning 63% over Biden.
Right.
They are winning those in their separate categories, okay? This is where polls can be extremely misleading. So first of all, polling has the potential to be incredibly biased.
Right.
And more often than not, it is. It is. And that's for a couple reasons, and I want to talk about that. So polls can show many different things. They can be broad. They can be specific. They can be the entire presidential race. They can be Democratic or Republican.
Right.
When you are reading a poll, you have to know that, because somebody could have read that and thought Joe Biden's winning 91%.
You can't just believe everything you see on the internet.
You've got to make sure. You've also got to check where it's coming from.
Yes.
So most political polls in general, they're just surveys, right? They're just surveys. Political polls show the percentage of support or dislike for a specific candidate based on something. Could be that overall. It could be a specific issue. It literally could be anything. So this is how they can be biased. First of all, biased questions. Again, they're surveys. This is the way questions are framed.
Okay.
So I tried to come up with a good example of this, but, there are many ways to ask the same thing.
Yes.
And you may feel wrong answering it a certain way, even if you believe in that.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be judged. You don't want to be looked down upon. Surveys, of course, are usually anonymous. But I want to ask a question to you. How often do you answer survey questions 100% accurately?
Oh, very rarely. You'll get those from your school, and it's how often do you study? How many hours a week do you study? And I'm like, well, I don't want to put 1 to 2 because that's the lowest option.
Yeah.
And I probably study 2 or 3 hours, but I'm not going to put that. I'm going to put 4 or 5.
Exactly. And that is exactly what we're talking about. So biased questions, the question itself can be asked in a biased way.
Right.
Or you can answer the question in a biased way because you're like, oh, I don't want to sound that way.
Yeah.
Or I don't know.
Or
is
if
that
it's
really
not anonymous.
If it's not anonymous.
No shot.
Yeah. So 2, participation. This kind of goes to that. It is a choice to participate in a political poll or a survey.
Yes.
Therefore, the majority of people that are participating in these polls or surveys are people that feel extremely strongly about a
You're
particular
not getting
issue.
the whole population.
You're not getting the whole population.
Yeah.
You're not getting the whole perspective. They represent a very small portion of the population, because most people sit somewhere in the middle.
Right.
They don't sit, far left, far right. People who are willing to answer these polls, more often than not, are extremely right, are extremely left. So you have to keep that in mind as well, especially when you're looking at overall polls.
Oh, yeah.
And then third, again, because participation is a choice, participant sampling is something to keep in mind. So random sampling should always be used, right? They shouldn't. If you're conducting a survey and you want it to be credible, we all learn this when I
learned this in my statistics class.
Your psychology class. Yes. It has to be random. You can't handpick the people that are going to answer your surveys because it could be biased.
Right.
With that being said, let's say, and I'm totally making this up, okay? But let's say Fox is going to do a presidential poll, okay? Fox is a very, very far right-leaning news program. Mm-hmm. Fox is going to do a presidential poll. They are going to send the poll to all of their subscribers.
Yes.
Who do you think is subscribed to Fox?
Conservatives.
If
I had to guess.
If you had to guess, right? So the answers are going to be very skewed.
Right.
And, some people question, like, the legitimacy of that, and they're like, why, how can we do that? How can we put out polls that are clearly skewed?
Right.
It's America, I guess. It's America.
And some people want to know what a certain side is thinking.
Absolutely.
It is kind of frustrating for people that are just trying to get the bare bones of the news.
Yeah.
And you have to do a little bit of deep diving. So we're going to try to bring both sides to you so you can understand.
Yeah. And I know this is a deep talk about polling, but I think it's very important because as we continue to talk about these different candidates, as we continue to talk about the different aspects of this election, polling is a huge thing. You can see, how your community feels about something that's going on. And polling is not just at the national level. Like, polling happens at the local level, which we will get into. Kind of the last thing, too, with that being said, polling also might not be easy to access, which makes it biased. Right. You might not have access to the internet. How are you going to take a poll?
Great question.
Yeah. Obviously, they have in-person polls, in-person surveys, and things like that. Maybe you hear about it through word of mouth. How do you get access to that information?
Wow.
So polls, you have to be very careful when you're looking at polls and you're looking at elections because they never tell the full story. But they can be very important and useful tools, especially if you understand what bias could be there. Like you said, you may want to know what conservatives are thinking about a certain candidate. So let's go look at the conservative poll. It could work out in your favor if that is what you're looking for. So I know that's kind of a long talk about polls, and I only went into the candidates very briefly, but I don't want to overload right now.
Yes.
Because it's a lot to talk about.
And there will be a lot of time to talk about that as well.
Absolutely. So that's just kind of a small segment for now, but I will absolutely get into the nitty-gritty about what each candidate stands for. What do they stand for? Why are they here? I will get into, voting. Yes. What is voting like? A lot of us have never voted before. That's a big thing. I voted once. It was in... Okay. I don't even remember what it was for. It was like a small local election, and I think I had just turned 18, and I was like, oh, my gosh, I'm going to do it.
I voted for governor. I live in Georgia, like I said. So
so
that's all.
Voting. How do you vote? Where do you go to vote? Like, what is that process like? And then also I'm going to talk about the Electoral College. I'm going to talk about what a presidential election even is in America.
I would love to learn more about the Electoral College for sure.
Which those are... such deep dive topics.
Yes.
So that's why we're not getting into it today, but I wanted to give you a brief overview of who the candidates are and keep your eye out for those polls. At the end of the day, this person will be running our country. So with that being said, that's it for my news. That's all I got. We'll get into more stuff next episode, but
I can't wait.
I think we covered the bases.
Good. All right, guys, that is all for this episode. We are so excited that we finally got this up and running. We hope you guys learned a little bit about sports and news.
Yeah.
And we look forward to talking to you guys a little bit more later.
Yeah, this was so much fun. And, like we said, we're still learning. You're still learning. If there's anything you want to know about that we didn't touch on and you want us to go into detail on, let us know. Put it in the comments.
Yes.
Give us a DM, something.
like we're influencers.
No, seriously. But we want to know. If there's something that we
Yes.
did touch on that you want to know more about, let us know. If you think we might have gotten something wrong, let us know.
Call us out.
Seriously.
I'm so down for
That's
that.
what this is about.
Yes.
So we're just so grateful that we get to do this.
Yes.
And I guess that's a wrap on our first episode of Simply Put.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for listening to Simply Put. And keep an eye out for the next episode.
Yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.